Hey everybody, Omar here, your Edge of South Africa guy, bringing you the latest and greatest from South African knife makers. And today I'm going to be doing a video on the difference between CNC machining and made by hand knives. So let's just go ahead and get right into this video. So I got two knives here. The first one you saw in my first video by Clyde Challenor. I'll bring this out again. And as I open up these two knives here, I just want to let you guys know that everything that I'm saying was taught to me by Clyde Challenor this morning. Because there were a lot of things that I didn't know about CNC machining and made by hand techniques and what the differences are. And it's thanks to him I now have a better understanding of why Clyde Challenor decided to go with made by hand. Okay, so let's get into this video. So made by hand knives, most of the made by hand knives are liner locks, which is what this knife is. I'm gonna pull out this one. I'm really sorry I can't get better angles of videos, but I'm doing this on my iPad mini, so forgive me. So I'm gonna try and see if you guys can get better shots of better shots of this video here. So this one is my Andre Thorburn L38 flipper by Andre Thorburn. This knife is probably one of the very first customs I ever got. The eagle on the knife is made by Andre Thorburn's wife, Marguerite Thorburn, and Andre Thorburn is the one that puts the knife together. He's the one that actually constructs the knife, constructs the design of the knife, and what materials that he puts on the knife. You can discuss that with him and any knife maker out there. That's pretty much how it's done. You basically have a quick meeting with the knife maker and then you discuss materials. And it's probably a good idea for you to research and learn about the materials that are actually out there. The more you know about the materials, the better experience you'll have with the knife that you're going to get as the final product. In any case, this video is again about CNC machining and made by hand techniques. So this is a frame lock by Clyde Challenor, as you guys can see. They're both roughly the same size knife, with the Clyde Challenor Raptor being slightly larger. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, I'm gonna try and give you guys a better shot. So the Raptor is slightly larger. At this angle, it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, there you go. Now I think you can get a little better angle like that. Because I'm holding up my iPad mini and then I'm outside. I don't have anything to control the movement of the camera. So if the camera's a little shaky, it's because my hand is holding the iPad mini. In any case, this one's done by CNC machining, the frame lock, and this is made by hand. Now, what's the difference between the two? What is the difference between CNC machining and made by hand techniques? The difference is tolerances, okay? A little bit about made by hand techniques. It is really seen more, unfortunately, and I'm holding the Andre Thorburn knife. The aesthetics on a made by hand knife are seen right off the bat. I mean, obviously the eagle, the material of the white Westinghouse. I mean, it's seen right off the bat. There's no question it's a beautiful knife. But when you look at a frame lock, and I'm using Clyde Challenor only as an example because he's the only few frame locks that I have in my collection. It's not always easy to see where is the incredible made by hand technique on this. It just looks like a knife that was done by a machine, but you need to look closely at the concept of a frame lock in order to appreciate how many hours it takes to actually put this knife together. But on to my original point. Okay, I'm going to see if I can try and explain this a little bit better. Okay. the art of having a knife made by hand, okay? And the word I'm going to use here is tolerances. How tight and how exact and how put together is that knife? No matter how good of a knife artist you are, the tolerances are only going to be limited no matter what. Even for as great of a knife maker as Andre Thorburn. Keep in mind, people that make knives by hand, they are using tools that are actually made by them to make the knife. So if you can imagine this, you're a knife maker, you're making one-of-a-kind handmade knives, and the tools that you're using to make the knives are made by you. So that makes even made by hand even more one of a kind. Because obviously, if you're making the tools that make the knives, you are never ever going to, there's no way that knife can be duplicated by somebody else, even if they're a knife maker that makes knives by hand, because they're using their own tools that they've made. And that message gets lost in made by hand technique. Now, how tight are the tolerances on made by hand versus CNC machining? I'm going to show you right now. The difference between the two is that with made by hand, let me show you, I'm going to use one criteria. Okay, I'm going to use smoothness of the knife. When you get a made by hand knife, most of the time, as you guys can see how the knife starts to fall shut? A lot of us kind of look at that and go, wow, the knife falls shut. We see that as a positive. Is that a positive or is that not a positive? That all depends on how knowledgeable you are with making knives. I mean, to be honest with you, I love that my knife flicks open and closes shut like this. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, it's kind of hard. I'm going to hold up my camera up a little bit better so you guys can see. Yeah, here we go. So when I flick my knife open, right, and then I close it, I disengage it. See how it falls shut really quickly? In fact, I don't have to do anything. The knife's just going to fall shut. Okay, not only does that not only because it's on ceramic ball bearings, right, but because the tolerances was done by hand. So it's a combination of the weight of the blade and the fact that and I wish I could take a knife apart, but I can't. But it's the fact that the tolerances are not as tight as if they were done by CNC machining. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here in a second. So let's go ahead and take out the Clyde Challenor Raptor. See if I can show this to you. So this is my Clyde Challenor Raptor. Now, the advantage of CNC machining is that the tolerances are exact. They will never change. There are certain things that you don't even really need to do on a CNC machining if the guy who's the skilled machinist and artist knows what he's doing, and that's basically, I think that basically sums up Clyde Challenor. He is that good. With CNC machining, because of his understanding of how the machines work, same knife on ceramic ball bearings, it doesn't fall shut the same way. Look at that. It can actually stay there for a minute and then drop, and it's always going to be that way. The smoothness will always stay that way. See how it doesn't even, it takes a while for it to fall shut, so there's a little bit of a give to it, and it's because of that, it's going to just stay. The tolerance is going to stay, and it's going to stay that way forever. It's because the spacing inside the knife is so tight that it's never, ever going to change. Versus a made-by-hand knife, right? Where, yeah, we like it to fall shut, right? But, eventually, there's a possibility that the knife might have some give to it in the future. There is a possibility that it might have some give to it in the future, and maybe you may want to contact the knife maker to have them, retighten that for you. But still, that does not take away from the concept of the positives and the negatives when dealing with CNC machining and made-by-hand techniques. They're both really, really good. The problem is with CNC machining, as great as CNC machining is, it's unfortunate that you have to look super close to see all of the advantages of CNC machining versus made-by-hand. Now, the basics of having a knife made by CNC machining, meaning that the scales are all done by CNC machining, they are exact. But the once the knife is finalized, all of the details that are on the knife that are done on a CNC machining, like for example, do you see the screws on this knife? How they kind of sheen out like that? Looks like a star is shooting as I move my knife. You can see like the sunlight is kind of creating that star effect on the knife. That's done by hand. That's not done by machine. That's the problem, is that you got to look at the little things that Clyde Challenor does to make your knife more unique versus Andre Thorburn. You look at it right off the bat. Wow, man, look at that eagle on my knife. It looks so freaking awesome. It looks fantastic. I love how the scale on the knife looks like a beak, looks like the beak of an eagle. You don't have any problems noticing it. You know what I mean? The ceramic ball and all that stuff, it's all the good stuff. It's all nice stuff. But unfortunately, with Clyde Challenor, if you don't own one of his knives, you're not going to know any of this right off the bat. I mean, take a look at the pattern on this knife. There's like no... yeah, it's done by CNC machine, but look how perfect it is, right? And the pattern is done individually on each knife, on both sides of the knife. Now, to do that by hand and have it look as perfect as it does here, that's damn near impossible. Damn near impossible. On a made by hand, to get the molded, because when you hold this knife, it conforms perfectly in your hand. I mean, I've never had any knife feel more comfortable than I do when I'm holding a Clyde Challenor knife. To get it that perfect, and all the edges here, like on the knife here, they're super smooth. There are no, there's no, I don't know how to, no sharp edges whatsoever on the knife. It's just super smooth. So every tolerance that he gets put together by Clyde Challenor with a fine-tooth comb, no knife gets past him. If there's even one iota of imperfection, he's not going to have the knife go out by any customer. The inside of the knife, the inside scales of the knife here, completely flat, 100% to the umpteenth degree. They're perfectly even. Going back to made by hand, look at that. I love how that closes. Getting back to made by hand, where it's done by hand, you can probably bet the tolerances are tight, but they're not that tight. I mean, if you look closely, you probably could see that they're not as perfect as you think they are. Something to think about. I mean, but there's positives and negatives. I think the message that gets lost is, and this is what makes made by hand art and what makes CNC machining a different kind of art. Maybe that's the way I should describe it, a different kind of art. Because each made by hand knife done by the particular knife maker, like Andre Thorburn, the footprint is different, but made by hand technique by each and every knife maker, which is why when we buy made by hand knives, we're really buying the maker, not the knife. You're buying the skill of the knife maker, how close to perfection, which, by the way, perfection is already on CNC machining. You just have to look really close, versus we know human beings are not perfect, but they can damn well near try to get it perfect as they can, to the point where you can't even tell. But in reality, obviously, with CNC machining that they're competing with. That's going to be kind of hard. But still, the message that I want to get across is, yeah, CNC machining is exact, but you still need to have the skills to get the knife to be as freaking awesome to 100%. And if you are a machinist and a knife maker and you don't know what you're doing, believe it or not, even though you have CNC machinings, you're probably not going to get anywhere near the made-by-hand technique as a CNC machinist that these guys are doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys can get that message, but I think that's what I'm trying to say. So CNC machining and made-by-hand techniques, there is a world for both of these. And if you like your knives to be, if you're basically a fan of both, it's always kind of good to understand the difference between a knife that's made by hand, meaning they're trying to get as close as they possibly can, in my opinion, this is all my own opinion, as close as you can possibly can to the tightest tolerances that are available to you by a really awesome skilled machinist like Clyde Challenor with CNC machining. Do you understand what I'm saying? So even a CNC machining, as perfect as CNC machining is, you've got to be as good as somebody like Clyde Challenor to come out with a product as good as this. And I think that's what I was trying to say, what's the difference between CNC machining and made-by-hand technique, which is, again, why when we buy made-by-hand knives, we're really going for the guy that makes the knife. That's not to say that that's not the case with the CNC machining. You're doing the same thing. But I think what I'm saying here is that both people or both parties that make knives made by hand technique and CNC machining are trying to get as close as to perfection as they possibly can. The difference is this, okay? Made by hand guy is going from 0 to 100, all right? They're trying to get from 0 to 100, and with their made by hand technique, as good as they are, they may only be able to get as high up there as maybe, I'm going to say like 80%, versus a CNC machinist who has some help with the machining may be able to get even closer to 100% than someone that makes knives by hand, if you can get that. So I hope I got that message across without destroying the integrity of the knife maker himself. And if I did that in any way, I really am very sorry, but it's the only way that I know that I can get the entire message across as far as trying to explain CNC machining and made by hand techniques as far as the tolerances go. Because the tolerances are really what this video kind of is about. You're kind of looking to get to as close as to perfection and longevity for the life of your knife that you can get as possible. Because, the knife maker doesn't really want to see any of his knives come back, for whatever. And if their knives do come back, hopefully it's gonna come back because of something stupid that you did, not because of anything that the knife maker did. Because in Clyde Challenor's case, he gets a lot of knives sent back to him, but that's only because the people that own the knives have done so many stupid things to the knives. And Clyde Challenor is nice enough to give us a lifetime warranty so that we can just go and have our knives sent off to him and whine and cry like babies and go, please, Clyde, fix my knife, I screwed it up. And he'll just be like, okay, send it over, I'll fix it, and you just pay for shipping. He is nice enough and kind enough to do that for all of us knife fans that love his work, and I'm one of them. And if you ever get a chance to meet Clyde Challenor, he is a super, super, super guy who puts out a super, super product. As far as Andre Thorburn, I can only say the same thing about this man. He leaves himself as busy of a man, and he's actually doesn't really have a lot of time for his customers, but I'll tell you what, Andre Thorburn makes the time. Now, Clyde Challenor is a part-time knife maker, whereas Andre Thorburn is a full-time knife maker. Clyde Challenor used to start out as a collector. He's been making knives now. I'm going to say he's been making knives for about 12 to 15 years now. And for those of you that think that Clyde Challenor only makes frame lock knives, you're wrong. He actually makes liner lock knives too by special request. I have to make that very clear. Clyde Challenor also makes liner lock knives by special request, and they take a really long time to make. So, you know, if you're interested in getting a made by hand knife, liner lock knife by Clyde Challenor, go ahead and contact him on Instagram at Clyde Challenor Knives. You can see him on Instagram. Also check out his website. Talk with him. He's a really fun guy. You don't have to be, you know, because he just kind of took a shine to me because we both have the same sick sense of humor. But you don't have to be anybody special to talk to Clyde. He leaves himself open to all knife lovers. He's just a really super guy, a really great guy. I'm kind of glad to know him and consider him a friend. He does his books are going to be opening soon, so if you guys are looking to step up and get your very first custom, consider consider Clyde Challenor, because he's definitely there for customer service, lifetime warranty on all of his knives. He's just a super guy who puts out really super knives. Right now he's only got one model out. He's going to have a new one out called the Warthog, and I am happy to say that I am going to be getting the very first Warthog out there. I believe he told me the Warthog is going to be coming before Christmas, and if not, definitely by New Year's. So be on the lookout for that, and I'm more than likely going to be the first one to do a video on the Clyde Challenor Warthog. A little insight is going to be a complete and total innovation on that knife, in a way that you've never seen it before. I don't want to get too much details in it, but it is going to be a total innovative knife. And in case I forgot to mention, the knife designer who designed the Raptor, designed the Viper, the Warthog, the Talon, the Hornet, all of his knives are designed by Francois Nel, who designs the knife. Clyde Challenor is the guy that makes the knives. So those two guys work as a team, creating fantastic products. And if you want to see all the knives that Clyde Challenor's got, check him out at Clyde Challenor knives.com. You can check out his website, check out his Instagram site. You know, if you're looking to get your first custom, you can't go wrong with Clyde Challenor. Like I said, his books are open. His books are temporarily open. They're going to be reopening soon, right after Blade Show, I believe. But he only opens his books to 10. So if you want to get a spot on his books, contact him as ASAP. I'm already on his books for a Warthog, so I got lucky. But if you guys are looking to get a Clyde Challenor piece, definitely reach out to him. He will be opening his books soon, right after Blade Show. So that's it for this video. I'll be doing a third video probably tonight. That video is going to be on knife makers I recommend. Right off the bat, if you've never purchased a custom. So that should be an interesting video. Hopefully I'll have good content as far as that. In the meantime, I'm out here at Ruston Way Waterfront here in Tacoma, Washington. This is a beautiful place. It's roughly about, I'm going to say 77 degrees outside. It's a little cool air blowing. It's nice and sunny. It was raining all the past week and a half, so a lot of us are outside kind of just enjoying the sun this Saturday morning. I'm probably going to mow my lawn a little bit later on today, so in the meantime, Clyde Challenor knives, check them out. Yeah, like I said, this model is no longer made, but this is definitely the pinnacle of my entire Clyde Challenor collection. I've only got 2 knives from him. Will have 3. I've got the 3rd knife coming in mid-June, which is another Viper, and that one is also one-of-a-kind handmade piece, which, not handmade piece, one-of-a-kind knife made by Clyde Challenor once again, and he did a really fantastic job on this piece, on this knife, so I really can't wait to check that out. And of course, you guys know I'll be doing a video, and in the meantime, I hope to see you guys all in the next video, and you guys have a fantastic Saturday afternoon, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. This is Omar, your host of Edge of South Africa, and I'll be seeing you soon. You guys have a fantastic day.